The history we've been taught, the narratives we've inherited, are they truly our own? Or have they been carefully curated, manipulated to serve agendas that seek to diminish and disempower? The quest to understand our past, to find our place in the grand tapestry of human history, is a journey fraught with obstacles. The very tools we use to uncover the truth, archaeology and historical records, have often been wielded as weapons of distortion and erasure. Consider the case of Great Zimbabwe. In 1929, archaeologist Gertrude Caton Thompson declared there was nothing Egyptian about the Zimbabwean ruins, insisting on their purely African origins. But this seemingly innocuous statement had profound implications. By separating Egyptian history from African history, she inadvertently reinforced a false dichotomy. It created the impression that Egypt, with its awe-inspiring pyramids and advanced civilization, was somehow disconnected from the rest of the continent. A convenient narrative for those seeking to downplay Africa's historical achievements. Was this merely an oversight, or a deliberate act of psychological manipulation? Did the white Rhodesians, eager to claim Great Zimbabwe as a testament to their own supposed superiority, exploit this narrative to further their agenda of white supremacy? The anthropologist Raymond Dart lamented that Caton Thompson had, I quote, ruined archaeology forever by taking the Egyptian remains away, end quote. By severing the link between Great Zimbabwe and ancient Egypt, they effectively isolated African history, portraying it as a separate, inferior entity. This allowed them to perpetuate the myth that only Europeans could create grand civilizations, justifying their colonial rule and the exploitation of African resources and people. The black nationalists, understandably eager to reclaim their heritage and counter the colonial narrative of inferiority, seized upon the idea of Great Zimbabwe as a purely African achievement. It was a powerful symbol of their ancestors' capabilities, a beacon of pride in times of oppression. Yet, in their fervor to claim Great Zimbabwe as their own, they inadvertently overlooked a more expansive truth. The focus on local origins, while empowering in the context of anti-colonial struggle, inadvertently severed Zimbabweans from a greater history. By rejecting the possibility of Phoenician or even Egyptian influence, they unwittingly limited their own ancestors' potential. They accepted the colonial narrative that greatness could only come from outside, that Africans were incapable of achieving such architectural marvels on their own. They missed the chance to connect with a legacy that stretched far beyond their borders. Could it be that in their eagerness to assert their own national identity, the nationalists inadvertently played into the hands of the colonizers, further fragmenting the narrative of African history? This narrow focus, while understandable in the context of a struggle for national identity, ultimately played into the hands of the colonizers. It reinforced the artificial boundaries between African nations and obscured the interconnectedness of their histories and cultures. There is a need for accountability here, both within the historical narrative and within ourselves. We must challenge the limitation imposed upon us by both colonial and nationalist agendas. We must dare to imagine a past that is grander, more complex, and more interconnected than we've been led to believe. As we stand on the precipice of a globalized world, the lessons of our past become even more vital. Just as the nationalists sought to claim Great Zimbabwe as their own, We as Zimbabweans must now embrace our connection to a greater history, a tapestry woven with threads that stretch across continents and millennia. The Phoenicians, the Egyptians, the Nubians, the Malians, these are not just names in a history book. They are echoes of our own ancestors, whispers of a legacy that transcends borders and transcends time. We must reject the narrow confines of nationalist narratives and embrace the full spectrum of our heritage. We must acknowledge our connections to the wider world, to the countless civilizations that have shaped our identity and enriched our culture. To truly know ourselves, we must delve deeper into the past, beyond the limitations of colonial narratives and nationalist agendas. We must seek the truth, wherever it may lead, and embrace the full complexity of our history. Are we ready to step beyond the comfort of familiar narratives and embrace the vastness of our true heritage? Are we willing to challenge the boundaries imposed upon us and reclaim our place in the global story of humanity? Are we ready to do that?